And welcome back. Joining me now is former San Antonio Mayor and HUD Secretary Henry Cisneros. Henry, thank you for joining us. First of all, what are your initial thoughts? This mayor's race was decided by about 2,500 votes. It was tight. Did you anticipate it would be this close?
I thought it would be a very close election because you had kind of very diametrically opposed views on subjects, and the city was listening to both sides. Brockhouse was on the attack, talking about things he's dissatisfied in very articulate ways, populist language. The mayor, on the other hand, is a visionary, thinking about the future, planning the future. And I think people in the final analysis said, we know there's some things wrong, but you have to have patience that we can get these things done. By a small margin, they said, let's keep working on these things like traffic and like water and like climate change. Then you had the issue of the firefighters. Clearly, a lot of San Antonians support the firefighters, think they're heroes and deserve a lot of benefits. But others would say, but we don't want them in the seat, actually in the center of power. Again, a close call for a lot of people, but obviously we know that by a small margin, Nirenberg won. Then there were the negative questions, attacks on Brockhouse for the domestic violence charges, etc. And on the other hand, Nirenberg had to deal with that very late decision on Chick-fil-A that angered a lot of people. They just didn't understand it. So you had all of these things in the mix, and you ended up with some very strange coalitions. Evangelicals, conservatives, the firefighters, and some populists surrounding Brockhouse. And then you had progressives, women's groups that were angry about the domestic issues, and more recently endorsement by the Democratic Party. So it was Nirenberg was counting on being able to draw progressives out for tonight, and obviously was able to do it by a slim margin.
Do you think it was a specific group or any specific issue that solidified it for Mayor Ron Nirenberg?
I think in our system, where the mayor serves for 2 years, to me, a lot of people were saying, we have problems, but you got to have some continuity in order to solve them. They're not things you can just use attack points on. You have to have some logic. I think the mayor has a major challenge before him coming out of this election, and that is to explain better to the people of San Antonio where we're going, using language that people understand, and offering some sharp choices as opposed to just sort of ambiguous themes. That hurt him in the election and made it close.
Absolutely.
But I think people said, look, you started, there have been no major scandals on your watch. We're going in the fundamentally right direction. San Antonio's growing. We're going to ride with you for another 2 years. He has to use those next 2 years very astutely.
Yeah, and recent mayoral races have been close. A change from what we've seen 10 years ago. Maybe we can keep you here on set, I don't know, for the next half hour and see what you think about that. But thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be
We
with you.
appreciate your time and insight as always.